back as we tried to absorb the news together of the scale of the devastation and destruction in KwaZulu-Natal, with news that 253 people have lost their lives. So one of the problems facing people in KZN now is simply getting enough food. Imagine waking up to find that all of your supplies have gone, your fridge is gone, your cupboard is gone, your house is gone because of the flooding. Many people will buy their food 3, 4, 5 weeks ahead, especially if they have children, especially if they have a family to feed. The moment they get a social grant, they'll make sure they buy food with it. All of that will gone. Nelisa Mabenge is the CEO of Meals on Wheels. Nelisa, good afternoon to you. Thank you for your time. What kind of help are you able to offer to people in this terrible situation in KwaZulu-Natal?
Good afternoon, Stefan. Yes, indeed, it is a terrible, terrible, terrible crisis that we are in. Meals on Wheels KZN team has been one of the first responders on the ground, seeing to it that the families and communities that have been displaced by this disaster are seen to in terms of getting a hot meal every single day, and trying to assist over and above that by ensuring that they get blankets and clothing. And I think also we have been trying to make sure that we resource clean water for them to also drink. So this is the current reality on the ground, that we are in need of more blankets in terms of supplying the displaced communities, and we also are trying to resource more clean water for them to drink as well.
How difficult is it to actually get water to KwaZulu-Natal? How are you doing it? Are you taking tankers from Gauteng?
We are working with our sponsors and donors who have been very proactive. We have worked with donors such as McCain, Pick n Pay, PepsiCo, and also CNR Brands, who have been very proactive in partnering with us and seeing to it that we respond to the crisis on the ground as impactfully as possible. So we do want to thank them, because we've been able to cover some ground in terms of assisting the displaced communities. We will be doing more. We are currently also trying to see to it that we place our meals literally on wheels to areas where communities are not able to get to our branches, and also make sure that they receive the required help that they need.
It's one thing to get a meal that's cold, that, any food is better than nothing. For a lot of people, just one hot meal a day will make such a big difference. Are you actually able to cook food there?
Yes, we do have our branches. Actually, statistically speaking, we have a national footprint. We have 181 branches nationwide in each province. Now, what we have done is we've mobilized our KZN kitchen branches. They have been cooking around the clock, seeing to it that every single displaced community receives a hot, nutritious meal during this disaster. We are going to deploy more resources. We need more hands on deck, because we do see that the need is much greater than the current KZN team that is on the ground. So we are deploying more hands on deck and more resources to see to it that we are more impactful in terms of our response.
And the scale of the problem, I don't know if anyone's been able to work out at this stage how many people need help. I don't know if the provincial or national government have been able to do that. This is such a big issue. Do you know how big the demand actually is for help, how big the need is?
The statistics are growing by the hour, I must say. We are working with the disaster management crisis team that keeps us abreast in terms of the numbers and stats as we go along in the affected areas, so that we make sure that no one is left behind. We are part of the committee and part of the cluster. So when in any disaster that actually takes place in our country, we do work with the disaster management team to make sure that our response goes directly to the impacted areas, and we don't miss out on any areas that have been impacted.
You talk about the food that people need, you talk about the water that people need, the blankets that people need. Are there other things people need just to get through their daily lives? I would imagine, there must be many children who've lost all the warm clothes that they have.
Absolutely, absolutely, Stefan, which is why we are calling on more corporates to please come and partner with us in terms of responding to the current disaster on the ground. So we are asking for them to please reach out to us so that we are already mobilized on the ground. So it will be more impactful if we work together rather than in silos so that we can see to the greater level of needs that are affecting our communities on the ground.
And working with government, are they able to coordinate with you? I mean, I imagine just getting through to people in KZN can be quite difficult with so many cell phone towers down. Are you able to coordinate well in this time?
Yes, we have worked with government in the past, and we continue to have a good working relationship with them in various provinces. So in this disaster and in this crisis, we have also been liaising with them quite effectively, and we are working together to also see to it that we respond quite meaningfully to the disaster at hand.
Now, Nelisa, I mean, you obviously need money to operate. You're going to need a lot more resources than you've ever used. You've got to take resources from some provinces to get them to KwaZulu-Natal. It doesn't matter where you are in this country. If you're in the Northern Cape, if you're in the Eastern Cape, if you're in Limpopo, there are people who need help with food. Are people getting in touch with you to make donations? Are you finding, are your phones ringing?
Absolutely. We do have a resource call center that is working around the clock, seeing to it that we get the necessary donations and that they are channeled towards this disaster and crisis. They do make these calls throughout the year for us in terms of a larger scope of the fundraising initiative. However, right now, all our resources and efforts are driven towards this particular disaster in KZN. We want to make sure that not a single community member is left behind in terms of assistance. So therefore, we are deploying all our resources where they are currently needed the most at the moment.
Nelisa Mabenge, thank you, CEO of Meals on Wheels. I really do appreciate the time. Just one of the organizations, along with so many others, trying to help so many of our people that need it in KwaZulu-Natal.